All right. Well, it says live, so let's go in in three, two, one. What's happening, fam faithful? What's good? What's going on? Welcome to Fam Matters. You're here with Emmett Young and Dr. Jessica Brown. Dr. Jessica Young Brown, excuse me.
Hey y'all, don't be forgetting my maiden name now. That's important,
I mean, you were
especially
just,
since it's the name we share.
it is. It is. Welcome
Otherwise,
to
no one would know that we're related.
once again, welcome to Fam Matters, where you're listening to a wonderful, wonderful podcast for two people who are not just brother and sister, but who are absolutely educated and trained, but our opinions, they suck. They're not really educated. They have
They're
no
not.
base
They're
in
our
anything.
opinions are a mess. Yeah.
We should really call this podcast the Ratchet Twins. That's what we should be really
The Ratchet
because
Wonder Twins. That would be
the
so
ratchet wonder
fun.
twins,
Let's do
because
a
that's what
rebrand.
we like to talk about things that are ratchet. But today is a little different, right? Because we're not really talking about. We can probably, you or I would probably say that so it could be ratchet, but in and of itself. This is not really ratchet. So, of course, it's the new year, new you, all that stuff. We're like, halfway into the new year. But there are several people that are still fasting. They like to fast. They come into the new year with all the resolutions and all that kind of stuff. Oh, and if you're wondering why I have my coat on, it's because it's because I'm cold where I am. Where am I?
But where
I'm in
are
a new
you?
house. So, so that's a whole nother thing. If you want the full story, you're going to have to check out the marriage podcast, which is Hey Young World. But so
Can I tell the people why we're just now posting an episode?
no, no,
So, since my brother throws me under the bus
no,
regularly, I'm
hey,
going to use
no.
this as a time to shine. So, he just moved into his house. We're really excited about that. Some of you may have noticed we haven't posted a podcast episode in a while. The reason for that is because his podcast equipment was packed up in a box until what, 2 hours ago? Your sound just went out.
Until yesterday.
Oh, you
Really?
actually unpacked it yesterday?
Yeah. Boom. Yesterday. Thank you very much. Literally less than 24 hours ago, but not 2 hours ago. So apologize. I'm waiting, and the listeners are waiting. The fan faithful is waiting for an apology.
I
So
apologize for slightly overshooting my shady comment of you.
she'll never apologize for the shade.
No,
Um,
because I wholeheartedly meant the shade.
well, first of all,
Wholeheartedly.
let me say that the coat is really your fault because of what you posted. Like, was it last
Listen,
week about the utility bill?
my
How you
light bill,
right?
listen, fam faithful, are y'all praying for my light bill? We
No
celebrating these new houses, but what they didn't tell us was about the
utilities.
new house light bill. And I just need someone. Can y'all, somebody ask one of your grandmothers to pray? I think it needs like a really righteous prayer, not my regular prayer. I'm concerned that my prayer about my light bill is not getting high enough into the heavens. So somebody else needs to pray.
And we really need to be a little more professional here. We're this is Fan Matters. Holla at us, email us at fanmatterspod@gmail.com. You know, like the video, subscribe to the channel. All these things are supposed to be said at the beginning of the podcast, but we
Well, we're
just
out of practice because we
we're
haven't
just
recorded
yeah,
for
we're
since
been
last
recording
year.
for a while, right? Since last year. So we're out of touch a little bit, but thank you
God
for
bless.
going ahead and smashing the like button and subscribing to the fan faithful. Thank you so much for listening to us and all that. So anyway, let's focus. Let's focus because we have to talk about fasting. I did it. I did it at the beginning of the year. I participated in the fast with the church.
How
Uh
long was it? Because it's only
it
January 17th.
Well, we did it from January the 3rd to the 14th. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. That's
3rd to the
wonderful.
14th. And the weird kind of day is this particular congregation. Well, it would have been the second, but of course we had the holiday and all that. But they fast from the first of the year, or we fast from the first of the year until the first quarterly business meeting of the year. And so it's an 11-day period. And usually the fast is broken, at the business meeting where you have little snacks and all that. But of course, COVID and all, we didn't do that and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very interesting dynamic because usually you're thinking about like 7 days or 12 days. There's something else, and this was 11 days. It was a little interesting. But so yeah, we did it. I did it. Am I a I'm not really a faster per se, like a lot. I don't do it a lot. I should do it more probably. But you have a certain opinion about this, and I think the people want to hear it. They need to hear it.
So it's I am also participating in a fast right now. Mine goes until the end of the month. Um,
If you
uh,
hear something, Zach just got home from school, so
hey Zach, everything's fine. So I'm curious, like, what you think about like corporate fasts, because I do think, like, is he coming in? You might as well say hi.
hey Zach, hey buddy, what's up? It's just yes, we're doing our podcast. That's it. All right. Fan matters.
That matters. Fam does matter. So I'm curious what you think about like corporate fast, because I do think people sometimes like fast without really attending to the fact that it's a spiritual discipline. Like, I think they do it as a routine or to say they're fasting, but I just wonder about, like, if I sometimes wonder if people take it seriously enough.
Oh, that definitely not. And I can appreciate the couple of people that actually told me they were like, "Oh yeah, we're not fasting."
For real, because it's not for
Right.
everybody.
It's it's not number one. It's not for everybody, and I think the good thing about where we are today is that look at us. We started off all serious. The
I
good
was
thing about
thinking that, like, we ain't told a joke yet. This is weird.
that is very weird. Where
Every
we
once in
are
a while,
today.
y'all, we actually, maybe it's because we've both been fasting. We're in a meditative space.
Oh,
See, and there's the joke. That didn't last long, did it?
because of the technology, because of I think the intentionality of churches today, that there's so much and the how do I say this, and the I think just the biblical knowledge, if you will, pulling from from the Bible, these different kinds of fasts, and you have so many different ways to do it, and of course. You can focus on food and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. Focus on different aspects of food. Like you don't have to do a fast where you're not eating anything. But there are people who that's what they do. They will not
Mm.
eat for like I said before, prescribed fast 7 days, 12 days. Some churches do 40 days, mimicking the 40 days in the wilderness experience of Jesus the Christ, representing the 40 years the children of Israel wandering around in the desert. So it just depends on how you do it. For me personally, I've done the food thing and all that. I tried to, if I do fast, I try to limit it. Like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do any sweets, no fried foods. But this year, right, I was like, okay, I started off that way, and then before this it started, I said, wait a minute. I was sitting down and I had just plopped down middle of the afternoon, started watching TV, like streaming. We don't have cable anymore. All right, you got bills, utility bills.
That mortgage hit different,
It hit a bit
and the house
different.
light bill hit
Cut
different.
where you can, cut where you can, player. So we, I was like, so I sat down and I was like, it's like 3 o'clock in the day. Um, you know what? No TV, no streaming. So I really don't watch TV in the
Mm.
morning. And maybe if I'm getting dressed or something, it's on. And it's not even news, it's just, whatever. And so I did from like 9 to 9. And the funny thing is, right? So I said I was gonna read during those times. I was gonna read different books, read the Bible, all that kind of stuff. I ended up taking some really good naps during that period of time. I mean, just kind of, but I didn't, and I didn't really miss it. But I was very very aware of what I was doing. Like wasting this time, and I think
Mhm.
that that's part of the purpose of it is what are we wasting and how can we eliminate some of that waste out of our lives. So instead of if I'm going to plop down and watching TV, I think even after the fast I'm like, I can do something else. I'm not just going to sit there for 3 hours or whatever, and eventually.
Mhm.
What I did, I don't know how you're doing it.
So I'm fasting from like some particular food items that are problematic for me. And also, part of this process for me is like committing to some kind of devotional or reflective time in the evening. Like instead of kind of similar
Mhm.
to you, like instead of watching TV or whatever, um, I'll do a devotional or I'll read from a book that's like kind of like a personal development book or something like that, just to kind of have reflective time. I don't know where I heard this. I know it's not my own creation, but somewhere I heard, maybe it was at a church I was attending, related to a fast. Someone said that fasting is about creating a void so that you can invite God into the void.
Mm.
And I just really like that terminology because
Oh,
like a
nice.
part of what that's looked like for me in practice is if I want to do the thing or eat the thing that I'm supposed to be fasting from, it's literally an opportunity in that moment to pray and be like, God, I need you.
Right.
Right. And so for me, a fast also like reinvigorates my prayer practice because I'm forced to seek God more as I'm, missing this thing that I feel like has been problematic for me in some way.
Oh, well, I really like that. I really like that piece of say it again. Say that again.
Creating a void so that you can invite God into the void.
Oh, wow.
And
Creating.
I don't know. I must be like a former pastor or somebody because I know I didn't make that up, but
In your
it's
former life,
always the
you were a pastor. Is that what
no,
you're
I
saying?
said a former pastor of mine because I
Oh,
know I
I'm
didn't
sorry.
make that up.
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. I thought you were. That's why I was like, that was weird what you just said. So
No, a former pastor.
a former
Yeah.
pastor made that up. I'm gonna tell you what I really should have been fasting from was eggs, because they're creating
Listen,
in my pocket, in my heart. These eggs,
why are eggs so high?
I don't know
What's
why they're
happening with the eggs?
it's crazy. Are these special chickens? I don't know what's going on,
Did the
but
chickens go on strike? What's
mm,
happening?
I don't know. Maybe they.
Listen,
I don't.
I don't
I don't
like eggs
know.
that much to pay $8 for 12 of them. So
But the discipline, the spiritual discipline, and since we're being serious, there's a book called "Celebration of Discipline" by was it Richard Foster, I believe, and this book was out, some years ago. It's you know, and when we deal with fasting, a lot of us may go to that story, which I love the story because I see just a regular stuff with Jesus and how he talks, and that story with the father who brings his boy, to the disciples because Jesus, Peter, James, and John were up on the Mount of Transfiguration. They come down. Jesus sees this crowd. They arguing back and forth with the disciples, and here's his father just holding his like limp son, and Jesus is like, what's going on? What y'all doing? And the father tells him what's up. And he looks at the disciples like, you knuckleheads, are you like
right.
for real? How long do I gotta be telling you, what you have to do? And he's like, bring the boy to me. And Jesus asks his father about what's happened. The father tells him, and the father's like, if you can do anything, and then Jesus is like, what? Negro, please. If anything is
I can
possible.
do it.
I can do it. Do you believe I can do it? I mean that kind of thing, right? So when I think about that, then you get to the end of the story of Mark, and privately, not in front, not in public, but privately, they're talking, And they're like, oh, why, how come, why come we couldn't do it? And he says, well, this kind can only come out by prayer and fasting. So,
Mhm.
you have that one like really, really very powerful verse that so many people kind of go to. And it's not that, you don't go to it necessarily, but it's that one powerful verse that, people take. And it's like, okay, fasting, unleashes demons, or, fasting, Jesus puts out rules for fasting and tells people how to do it. Like the Pharisees are doing, doing it, they doing it wrong. Other people doing it wrong. This is how you have to do it. And the reasons why we do it, and here's the check. And that is, we don't do it just because the church is on the 10-day or the 21-day or the 40-day fast. I mean, if you're doing it just to be sexy, if you're doing it like just to be cool, that's not, that's not
Right.
how you do it, right? That's you do it. Hopefully, you're motivated to do it because your church, or maybe another church that or just yourself, you've read the word and you decided to use this time to be in prayer, to for that void, so that God can answer and do whatever God's going to do. But it's my whole thing is just like, hopefully it's just not like this, like I said, like a sexy trend, and we're doing it just to say we're doing it. Like, girl, I'm fasting. I mean, it just it's much, much more than that, and it is a part of our spiritual discipline. So here's two fronts, and then I'm done. um we shouldn't just do it, just because everybody else is doing it, but find purpose in the fast. And number two, we shouldn't back away from it because we're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, I can't, it's too hard, or, I ain't doing all that. It don't take all that, because it does, because it's spiritual life. And if you're living a spiritual life, then you ought to engage in spiritual discipline. And it is a discipline to do. That's it. That's all I got. Seriously.
But I agree with you. And I think on the flip side of that, I think there are people who get kind of holier than thou if they do engage in a discipline. And that's a sign that you're doing it in a way that is not consistent with biblical teaching, right? But you're the theologian, so I'll leave that to you. But so I don't know if you saw this clip of TD Jakes. I think it was last week or the week before. And he was like, he was basically saying, when we used to fast, no food, no water. We used to come to church barely hanging on. It's like, okay, so
Right.
it's like a intensity Olympics.
You're right. Right.
Like you're not doing it hard enough.
Right. You're not
You're
fasting
not
hard enough.
suffering. You gotta suffer. And I think there's something like really. I think there's something really problematic around, and I'm not saying this particularly about TD Jakes, but in general, I think there's something problematic about like telling people they're not doing it right. Like spiritual, in my frame as a Protestant, spiritual disciplines are a personal experience, right? And so I think there's something to be said for like letting people navigate those spaces in the ways that make sense for them. Because what's difficult for one person might not be difficult for someone else because of your previous experiences with disciplines. But I also think, somebody who's never fasted before, just because your church is doing a 40-day Daniel fast, if you've never fasted before, you might want to, pump the brakes a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Don't just, you got to slide into it. And
right.
that's where the teaching comes in real quick. You're listening to Dr. Jessica Young Brown, Dr. Emmett Young III. This is Fan Matters. We may be doctors, but our opinions are unqualified. We appreciate y'all listening. We call you the Fan Faithful because you have blessed us. And we like to talk about faith and mess. That's what it is. Fam Matters. Hit us up, Fam Matters Pod, gmail.com, YouTube, Fam Matters Pod. Go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate, like I said, all the love. You can check us out on different platforms: Podvine, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and we're doing our thing. Well, we're trying to do our thing. And today, our thing is talking about fasting. I feel like we're talking good about it, but I also feel like this topic is running out of steam very quick. Run out of steam.
What else would you like to talk about, brother?
I have no idea. But when we because talking about talking about the fasting piece and all that. That's nice and good. Resolutions, all
Mm.
that kind of stuff.
Do you make New Year's resolutions?
I hate New Year's resolutions. I haven't made a New Year's resolution since like '88, and I
You
was 10.
hate them. I was
I
about to
hate
say in '88 you were a child, so
Yeah, but I mean, I hated them then. You know, I mean, so I think I really probably started making New Year's resolutions when I was maybe in my late teens, early 20s, because I just didn't see the point to them. If I was
mm.
and mine was always like, yeah, I'm gonna lose some weight this year, and there I was, eating like a double quarter pounder on the 5th day of January. Matter of fact, I'll never forget the time we talk about fasting, right? When we had a new pastor that came to the church I grew up in. It was like late '90s, and I don't really remember us fasting back then. So when he came in, he instituted this fast, this like week fast, and you would do we would have prayer times at 6 in the morning, 12 noon, and 7 p.m. And you would fast like on every other day,
Mm.
something like that, right? It was it was from 6 to 6. Yes, I can't tell you. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it because I'm a new minister. I gotta go along with the pastor and all that kind of stuff. But I can promise you, I was in the McDonald's line at 5 almost every day. And at 6 o'clock, I was saying grace over my double quarter pounder with cheese and fries. Because I didn't understand, what as we were talking about what it was really all about. So getting back to
Mm.
resolutions, I decided, I'm not gonna make a resolution. Like it just to me, it doesn't make sense. Um, and the people do it, whatever, go ahead and do you if you can hold to it. I want to resolve to not make a something I can't keep and focus on that which I can, that I can keep. Um, and I think for me, how do I change my mindset about a particular thing so that it becomes not faddish, but something that I can stick with? And I think you might really be able to just really say something a lot about that because, like I said, it's to me it'd be changing my mindset about something. I have an issue with Coca-Cola.
I was just
And
about to bring up the Coke.
for more for most people, they're like whatever. And I love throwing this line out there like I'm addicted to Coke, uh, Coca-Cola, y'all, right? And for somebody though, if you have kidney issues, you really shouldn't be drinking Cokes. Like I drink Coke, and I was off of it for over 2 years. Over 2 years, I was good. Then I went to Brazil, and when I went to Brazil, I guess it was the stress factor, being away from
Mm.
home, whatever it was. I broke. I broke, and I have not been back to that. Long period. I think the longest period of time I've been, and I went to Brazil in 2018. The longest period of time that I spent with not drinking Coke is 3 weeks. So, I mean, resolution meant. I mean, how does that? That Am I crazy? It's got to be a mental thing. Carletta, she says, like it's an emotional thing. I think about my grandmother because she drank a
Mhm.
Coke every day, like a can of Coke, and sometimes we drink Coke together. I mean, not like, oh, we're gonna gather Coke together and just drink it. It wasn't like that. It was just a thing. And my cousin, it's like all of us, but especially he and we got Coke in our house for sure. like straight up. That's
I
just how
mean,
it
so
is.
I think it's like it's often an emotional thing. And if you think about, I always tell my clients like anything that you do all the time, there's a reason that you do it, or else you would stop. Like so. I think a part of it is figuring out what's the reason behind this particular behavior for me. And then it's mindset, but it's also like setting up the environment, right? So as long as as long as you have Coke in your house, you're gonna drink it. So the only way to avoid drinking Coke in your house is to not bring it into your house. Like I think we have to manage the
Hold that thought.
environment too.
Hold that thought. I probably shouldn't have said what I just said. He's the one that has Coke in his house. I don't have Coke in my house, but
Oh, that's
get
good.
I get the Coke. I get it. And there's this one McDonald's by the house that
They
makes
got the
it.
good Coke.
They got the good Coke now. Coke drinkers. My mother-in-law would try to argue me down, as I was just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Coke drinkers.
No, there's a hierarchy.
There's a difference. McDonald's Coke is different than other bottled or canned Coke. Period. And you can look it up and see what they do. It's a thing. It's really a process. Seriously, that they do. So it's like, I'm Jones and I gotta get a McDonald's. I don't want a Coke, from like 7-Eleven. I need a McDonald's Coke. There's one right by the house, and their mix is so
Yikes.
perfect. It's ridiculous. But so I don't keep it in the house, but going to get it. The resolve piece, if you're resolving to do something, what is it that's going to hold you to the resolve?
For most people, failure is a part of the process, right? So I think we also have this, like the idea of cutting anything, whatever it is, cold turkey.
It's cool to fail.
It's normal to fail. It's normal to fail, right?
Yes.
Have you ever heard the term fail forward?
I have, and I do it. I not only heard of it, but I engage it constantly in my life. in this area.
But I think it's like, and people say things like, well, I don't have the motivation to keep going. Of course, you're not going to have the motivation to keep going. Motivation ebbs and flows, right? So you need commitment, and you're going to fail, and then you figure out what to do with that failure. Like what happened that I couldn't stick to the commitment that I had.
So you're saying that are you saying that like it's just a natural pattern? So where does the pattern break then?
The pattern breaks with reflection on the failures. So for you, it's thinking, okay, so I'm sitting here at McDonald's. I got my Coke. What was going on for me 20 minutes ago that I got in my car and decided to come here?
Ooh, that's very
what was happening in my world? What was happening internally? What need was I trying to meet? Right. And the other thing, especially when it's like food or drink related, is like we can develop biological dependency to those things too. Right. So in the morning, before I leave my house, one thing I promise you is I'm going to have my cup of coffee. Right. Like that's a biological dependency. We've decided that it's okay as a society, but it doesn't make it any less of a dependency, And so I think sometimes there's like these physical components that we need to take care of too, that our bodies really do crave these things. And if we don't address the physical part of it, you can't always just push your way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Can't. That's a head shake. Can't just always.
Y'all have to watch the video so you can see the ridiculousness. Carry on.
You can do that on YouTube.
Fan Matters Pod.
Fan Matters Pod. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much. I'm done.
Yeah, so I think it's like a holistic approach.
I'm done. I don't have anything else to share. I'm good. I don't need anybody else to know what I'm dealing with.
This episode's probably kind of a letdown, but at least it's an episode. We're sorry.
Working our way back up. That's our resolution.
It's a little sluggish, but we're here.
Not really.
No, so, here are take-home messages. If you're gonna fast, have a reason for your fasting. Understand it as a spiritual discipline. If you're gonna cut something out, do some problem solving beforehand.
And drink Coca-Cola. Don't do Coke. Drink Coke. Did I say that right? I hope so.
Definitely don't do Coke, but you might not want to drink Coke either.
Cola. Drink Coke.
There's a reason they call it Coke.
It is, and it's so good.
He's a fan.
Let me say that this is a podcast will not be hampered or hindered by time constraints. If we, those who have decided to willingly entertain and inform you, are done, then we are done. And that is our word. Dr. Brown.
Dr. Young, this has really been a mess. And so at least we're being true to our name.
True to our name. And our promise is we may get better or we may not. But thanks
it's really up to you at this point because you're listening either way. So y'all send us some topics or some questions or something, because clearly we need assistance. And you can do that by reaching us at fanmatterspod@gmail.com.
fanmatterspod@gmail.com.
Our email still has nothing but emails that we send back and forth to each other. So hit us up.
If it sounds like I'm begging, because I am.
We are.
I ain't too proud to beg. No, no. I thought it was a good segue to that.
You did?
Song. And
okay. Well,
okay.
Here we are.
There you go.
Anything else, Dr. Young? I think we've hit a wall here.
We're done. We are done today. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. This has been Fan Matters. For Dr. Jessica Brown, I am Emmett Young III saying peace and thank you, fam.
Bye.